I'm gonna help you decrease pain while squatting while using a 5-step method, and we're gonna start right now. I'm Olympic strength coach Dane Miller. I've coached at 2 Olympics, over a dozen different world championships, and I've helped over a dozen different athletes back squat 600 pounds ass to grass, and even myself, I've squatted over 550 pounds ass to grass. Now, one of the big factors here is that there's always going to be some sense of knee issues, okay? It's important that we look at knee pain and back squatting as a way of how can we prevent it and how can we mitigate those different issues. And that first step is just understanding where those problem points can be, okay? And if we can identify where there might be some type of pain, that's gonna help us then identify what is actually causing that pain. So I like to look at what's the kneecap, right? And this is one thing that I've learned from a couple different mobility doctors, and I recommend also just go check out Mobility Doc, John Giacalone, if you really want to have some knee issues resolved. Now, something that you can use here is that if we look at knee pain that is above the kneecap, that's typically gonna be very tight quads, very tight hamstrings. That's the easy one that we can look at. That's something that we're gonna have here in our 5-step process. We're gonna help you dial in how you can alleviate something that is just above that kneecap. Okay, so that's that first one. It's relatively easy. Okay, now below the kneecap, this is where we might see a possible torn meniscus. So again, make sure that you're seeing a doctor if you have severe knee pain. Make sure that you're going and getting imaging if that's necessary, because if it's below the kneecap, there might be a couple different issues. It could also just be related to potentially, sometimes we have knee pain on the outside of our knee, okay, that's gonna be related to a runner's knee, which could be really, really tight IT bands. It could be related to a weak or malfunctioning TFL. So we've gotta be aware of that. That was something that I suffered from when I first started getting into running quite a bit, was that I literally felt like my IT band was gonna pull my freaking kneecap and blast out of my skin. Now, we resolved that with some of these 5 steps here that we're gonna give you guys. And then finally, we're gonna go back to below the kneecap or even behind the kneecap. This is where we're gonna see patellofemoral syndrome typically occur, and this could be related to a jumper's knee or some type of overuse issue, okay? So if we see somebody who has constant problems just behind the kneecap or just below the kneecap, this probably should be the first thing that we're looking at right away is, okay, let's try to decrease volume so that we can back off of overuse and then work through these 5 key steps. Okay, so the first step is that we've got to make sure that we're doing our mobility work. So this is step 1. And I would argue this should never be taken out of the program. So we'll go through and we'll say, all right, let's start with some type of PVC pipe walks. 1, this will help lengthen the Achilles. 2, I also believe that a lot of people track poorly when they first get onto the PVC, and then as they get more stable and they start to work forward and improve their balance, they can get rid of some imbalances. So I'm not saying it's a cure-all, but I do believe it's something that you can do right off the bat. So we'll go with PVC pipe walks, okay? So that's the first thing. The next thing that we might do is get into something simple like a couch stretch. This stretch is absolutely horrifically brutal, and it's another one of those things that if I'm really tight, I'll either get a cramp in my hamstring or I'll feel like my hip's gonna blast forward. But if we can get set here on the wall, okay, holy, come back, and this is where you'll feel through that quad into your hip, and you can even, and I'm getting a cramp in my foot right now, holy, and we can even hold this as upright as possible. So in the case of me being really tight here, okay, I can go here with my knee more forward, and then as I get more comfortable and I get a little bit more limber, I'm getting another cramp in my right foot, I would move back, okay? So that's one of those easy steps that we can take. This is part of that mobility routine, and inside of our strength training at Peak Strength, we have daily mobility routines built out specifically based off the program that you're in. Okay, so if you struggle with holding yourself accountable with mobility, go into Peak Strength, select the sport that you want to train for, and then make sure that you're actually doing that mobility work. Now, the third part of this is that we would get into some type of foam roll, okay? So let's say here, ooh, let's go just like this right on my glute. If I'm talking about like, oh, my IT band issue, okay? This is one movement that I use quite a bit, even getting here. Oh, I ran this morning and now I have quite a bit of, right there. So you can get creative, just roll through your quads, roll through your hamstrings. Make sure you're spending like 15 to 20 seconds rolling on each side. And then finally, after this. Okay, now if I want to put this around below my knee, I can do some easy TFL work here. Okay, and again, this is just step one, and this should be in every single program. We are never going to eliminate this from your program. As we add steps throughout a longer time horizon, some of these steps will get pulled out, but this is step one and should be in every single program, which is why we have it in every single day of peak strength. Now, let's get into step two. How stupid do I look with my hat? Okay, so the second group of things that you can do, and I'm gonna pair the second with the third step, okay? So the second step is going to be focusing on more isometric work inside of your warm-up. And this is something that you can pretty much keep in all of the time, okay? It's relatively easy to do, and it's going to help you warm up, and it's going to strengthen your tendons. A lot of people have commented that they want a tendon strengthening video. Maybe we should do that, comment down below. Now, if I do this, okay, for like 2 to 3 sets of 30 to 60 seconds here, typical wall sit, that's one thing that we can do to use isometrics. Another way that we can do this is get on an actual slant board here, okay, and I wanna feel this heel elevated, and we might even try and focus here with the knee a little bit more forward and hold this for 30 to 45 seconds, okay? And we wanna go each side. Make sure we're doing the painful base side first, okay? So if it's my left side, I should have done my left side first. So this would be step two. Make sure that you're doing some type of isometric work, okay? So first step, mobility. Second step, we're getting into the isometrics. Third step, I'm gonna do something with a slow eccentric. So that might look like, and this is something I do think that you can even use, that I would even have athletes do as part of their warm-up on a regular basis. Every athlete that we've had squat over 600 pounds at some point has had that knee issue. And when we target their knee problems specifically with the mobility, when we target it with the specific isometrics and this aspect here, the slow eccentrics, typically that resolves their issues. Okay, so what we see is that, let's say we do about a 10-second, I guess, eccentric tendinopathy to a point. So we would go here, and I want to think about my knees tracking forward and my butt going back, okay? Knees go forward, and I want to go for a 10 to 12-second eccentric. Okay, so we come all the way down, and then back up. And this would be part of that warm-up. So remember, this is a step process, okay? Now, if your pain resolves, this might be something that you do get out of your program, that you release from your program after 4 to 6 weeks. But for 4 to 6 weeks, this is something that you should be doing. So 10-second slow eccentrics. And if I feel pain right around here, I want to go really, 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 really slow through that painful area, okay? So I'm going to show you, even on a single leg squat over here, the same buildup that you can use if you have some type of knee problem doing single leg squats. Okay, so step one, make sure you have a jailhouse single leg rack with cobwebs everywhere. Step two, put this up and you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I have pain right there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can do that for around 2 to 3 reps on each leg as part of the warm-up after you do the mobility or after you do the isometrics. Okay, so the isometrics, you're holding that position. The slow eccentrics, you're going down as slowly as possible. And now this is going to take us into that fourth key factor of alleviating that knee pain while squatting. Okay, so this fourth key tip is going to be a little bit more involved. This is where like your knee pain's getting pretty freaking bad. You've added in more mobility work. You've added in the isometrics, you've added in the eccentrics, and you still have knee issues. And you're like, dude, I need to resolve this. So we need to get even a little bit more aggressive in our warm-up. So we go through all those steps, those first 3 steps, and then I'm gonna add in my like all-time favorite knee/quad builder, which is going to be Spanish squats. And now we could use, typically we'll use one of our power elastic bands, which is our bands, available at garagestrength.com. And we wanna think about pushing this back, okay? Pushing your quads back, extending your knees here, okay? And we could use like a 30-pound dumbbell or a 10-pound dumbbell, whatever. You don't even really need to have a dumbbell, but this would be something where we go through the slow eccentric, get down, push back, and squeeze. 1, 2, 3, okay? Go down, squeeze at the top. Try and squeeze there, And then do that again. Okay, so you could do that for, I would recommend 5 to 7 reps. Now, I like to pair that with an accessory exercise. So some athletes, depending upon where their knee pain is, will do walking lunges backwards. Sometimes we'll do sled pulls backwards. Sometimes we will do even the slow single leg squats. We'll do that after Spanish squats. So we try to figure out where can we alleviate this stress. If it's above the knee, we'll do like really short, slower, eccentric single leg step ups. In this case though, honestly, this is probably my favorite pairing with the Spanish squats, is going to be an easy single leg extension. Okay, so we can get set here and we can come up and come back down. Okay, and I even like to get a little bit of a lean back to lengthen that quad. Come up, come back down. Okay, come up, nice and controlled, back down. A lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, leg extensions cause more knee pain. No, you're wrong and stupid and have a low IQ and should stop commenting on all my videos. So this would be step 4. And remember that when we go through these steps, this would be step 4 when you're starting to have pretty bad knee pain. You add this step in, you do that for 2 to 4 weeks, and you see if you can back this out, if that alleviates that. And then ultimately, this is going to take us into step 5, which is going to be program management. So some of the keys around program management is, first, I would eliminate back squat and just focus on a front squat or a zombie squat. The second part of program management is that I would just do some type of unilateral strength work. So if I'm front squatting and it's still there, I would go to just the unilateral strength work, like the single leg squats. And then the third part, I would probably actually pair with the front squats. I would eliminate, if you squat ass to grass the way that we squat, typically most times out of the year, we will squat full range of motion. If that knee pain is still there and we're doing those front squats, I'll eliminate the bounce. We might do a pause squat, or we might do a very slow exiting portion and then come up as quickly as possible, or we will even squat to a box. One thing I'll say about squatting to the box is that some people will develop some knee pain, knee issues below the knee if they squat to a box too frequently. So we've just got to be aware of that. But when we look through this, first, program management, you can step back and say, okay, let's get rid of a bounce, or let's just front squat. Front squatting is almost always the best thing for your knees versus back squatting. Then we go to the 4th step. Okay, that 4th step would be, we're gonna do the Spanish squats with those leg extensions or another accessory as part of the warm-up. Then we get into the eccentrics and the isometrics. So that's gonna be step 2, step 3. So we're working backwards. And then step 1 that is in every single program is we have to focus on the mobility. Okay, so that's that 5-step program. You can implement that today. If your knee pain persists, go see a doctor, but ultimately you're gonna need something that's gonna help you be accountable. And that's exactly what we have inside of Peak Strength. We have a mobility program built in there every single day, because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.